Welcome back to the eForge podcast, where overwhelmed operators become empowered leaders and we forge businesses, influence, and legacies that last. I'm your host, Cory Long. Today's episode is one that every entrepreneur needs, whether you realize it or not, because you can build the business, you can grow the revenue, you can scale the team. But if your home life is unstable, it will eventually show up in your leadership. My guest today is Trey Morgan, a minister, a speaker, a marriage coach who has spent decades working with couples, leaders, and families to build strong, lasting relationships. Through his work with Stronger Marriage Workshops and his leadership background in ministry, Trey has seen firsthand what happens when leaders neglect the most important relationship in their life and what changes when they get it right. Today, we're talking about marriage, leadership, communication, connection between how you show up at home and how you show up in your business. This is practical, it's real, it's something that most entrepreneurs don't spend enough time thinking about. Trey, welcome to the show. And man, I am so excited to have you on today. Got to see Sunday morning. We just had Easter weekend. So Sunday morning, man, packed house, great sermon. I was writing notes as fast as I was typing them. I always type my notes into my phone. It helps me I don't know why, but my brain just works that way.
I get it. Well, if I write them, I'm gonna at some point or another, they'll get thrown away. But if they're on my phone, they're there to stay, or at least I feel like they are. I know where to find them. Honored to be with you today, man. I'm excited about being on the show, getting to hang out with you, talk relationships and all the good stuff that goes along with it.
So tell me, I know you and I have known each other for a long time through church world and all the other stuff that we've been involved in. Tell people that maybe don't have any background with you. How did you guys get into the Stronger Marriage Workshops and into the relationship stuff? Because I know you've done ministry forever. You've been involved in youth ministry and then preaching and speaking and doing all kinds of other things. But what drove you guys towards the relationship stuff that you do now?
Well, as a young couple, my wife and I married. We were Lee was 18. In the 80s, you could do that. It was legal to get married young. We married very young. I was a couple of years older than her. We got married and we realized, although we had dated through high school, we had so much we still needed to learn. And we attended every marriage class, Bible study, retreat, workshop that anybody offered. I mean, all of them. Because it really helped us in our marriage when we went. And so we kind of fell in love early with marriage ministry and trying to figure out how we can be better husbands and wives. And those were all very good to us, very important to us. And so we found ourselves teaching at whatever church we were serving. We would do a marriage class, or sometimes we'd do a marriage Bible study in our home. We just really enjoyed that. But it was about nearly 20 years ago that a church in the Dallas area was doing a marriage weekend retreat. And they said, "Hey, Trey, would you come speak, do 5 lessons for our marriage retreat weekend for us?" And I said, "Sure, that sounds fun. I love doing that." Yeah. So we went down, Lee went with me, my wife, and spent the weekend. I did all the lessons. They had asked me to speak. I did all the lessons and I had fun. I told Lee, I said, "Man, that was fun. I wish we could do stuff like that more often." Yeah. And literally about 3 or 4 months later, another church called and said, "Hey, you got recommended by your last church that you did a good job. Would you come to a retreat for us?" And we said, "Sure." And I went and did another one. I did a second one. And then we just randomly kind of had some phone calls of, "Hey, do you do marriage retreats?" And we'd go, "Yeah, I'm doing some." And I remember about the third one, I told my wife, I said, "You know what would make this so much better is if you would speak too." Yeah. And she's an introvert and she shot that quick. She said, "No, not going to happen." And I really kind of played the guilt card. That sounds terrible. I played the card that said, Moses told the Lord the same thing when he said, "Hey, I need you to step up and stuff." And I remember Moses said so about 3 or 4 weeks later, my wife came in and said, "I've been praying about it. God has just weighing me down on saying, let's give this a try." And so she jumped in and we actually kind of changed directions. We were still doing retreats, but we started doing more weekend workshops where a church would have us in, and it would just kind of be, they would invite anybody in their community to come. Since that time, the Lord opened doors. We have done over 200
Oh my
marriage
goodness.
workshops all over the U.S., some throughout the world. We are currently booked up 3.5 years out.
Oh
We
my
do one
goodness.
a month. We do one a month. Sometimes two, if the second one is close, where we can just
Yeah,
drive Saturday. But the Lord really opened the doors, and there was a lot of places, a lot of cards or dominoes that fell into place to make it
sure.
work. Our kids were instrumental in comments like, "Hey, why are you not on social media?" And I said, "What do you mean?" They said, "Well, you put some stuff on your personal Facebook page, but have you thought about making a Facebook page for your marriage stuff?" And we said, "We haven't." So
Yeah.
we did. And then several years later, they said, "Dad, Instagram's huge. Why are y'all not on Instagram?" And I said, nobody wants to read marriage stuff on Instagram. And
Yeah.
they said, you might be surprised. We
Yeah.
now have close to 1 million followers on
Oh
Instagram.
my goodness. I had
Yeah.
no idea.
Yeah, close to 1 million followers. In all social media platforms, we have over 1 million followers through Twitter or X and TikTok and different things. And so it's been kind of one of those things to where the Lord just kind of opened the door,
Yeah.
and we said, this is something we feel like God wants us to do. And so we've continued to do it. We started a podcast on the recommendation of some. We've written 3 books, and they were because people kept saying, why are you not putting some of this material that you do on the weekends in a book? And we said,
Right.
we don't have time to write a book. Well, we slowed down and wrote one, and then a second, and then a third one, and they have been extremely beneficial and have done well on Amazon and have blessed us. And we feel like blessed others because they've sold.
Yeah, for
And so
sure.
we found a topic that the world is interested in hearing about, and that's relationships. The world, everybody wants to know, how can I be a better parent? How can I be a better husband? How can I be a better wife? And everybody's asking the questions. The problem is there's not a lot of people that are giving good answers to the questions they're asking. You can find some bad answers out there. There's some
100%.
horrible marriage coaches and websites that are telling you just terrible, terrible relationship advice. And we just feel like we're just giving good, common sense, biblical, Christian based material. And we get tickled on Instagram. We have people sometimes they'll ask us, where have you all got your marriage material? It's so fresh and it's so contemporary. And we're like, it's 2,000 years old. I said, everything we got is biblically based. And so
Yeah.
it has just been one of those things to where we wanted a good relationship for our marriage. And then we thought we would love others to have a good relationship with their kids and with their marriages and their spouses. And so it has just been a blessing. It's been kind of a side, not, I don't want to call it a job, a side ministry.
Yeah.
And even when we moved to Sunset here in Lubbock, where we work now, one of the big kickbacks was when we moved, we told them, said, we want to continue this marriage ministry.
Sure.
We don't want to stop. We think someday God will stop it, but right now it's going full speed, and we feel like it's a deal breaker. We can't come if you can't give us a weekend a month to go do a marriage workshop. And they were all for it. They said, hey, we feel like that's part of our ministry now. We're helping marriages. And so that was just a really big blessing to be able to continue to do that.
Well, I know you guys have even taught inside the college group over at the Well. Y'all have done some little mini series for the kids, learning how to build their relationships. And I know you guys are involved in a lot of different ways, even at the church, to help with that. I think y'all are y'all doing a class now
We're doing a class right now on Wednesday evenings at church on just what biblical relationships look like in the family and marriage. And so we're having fun. It's our wheelhouse. And so we enjoy it. I've got a date with my wife in about an hour where we're going over our material for tomorrow night just to make sure we're all on the same page.
Nice. So I know, most of our listeners are into the entrepreneurial world. A lot of them aren't, but most of them are. From a business perspective, like I know and I know you probably witnessed this too. I have seen so many business owners that have gone after success and business and all of that, and they've left a wake of just broken relationships and marriages and some don't even talk to their kids anymore and all of that. I know you guys have had to run into that as you guys have been out doing these workshops. What are some of the key pieces of that you've seen out there? Because I know you probably have. I mean, you've got 2 decades worth of experience in this. What are some of those things that you guys have seen from the business side of the world or career side of the world that people have just lost sight of, and they just
Yeah.
have lost sight of where they need to be and what they need to be doing? Because it
Well,
carries over from the
it
business
does.
into the marriage, and then from the marriage into the business. Like yeah,
We try to tell people in whether it's young ministers who are doing ministry
yeah,
or people in the business that you're talking to, that if you will make your marriage and your family your priority, it will bless your marriage and family, and it will bless your ministries and your
100%.
business that you're in. But if you put your business first and you put your ministry first, it's going to hurt your family and your marriage, and it's also going to hurt your business. And we see it a lot. We see a lot of people that just think, hey, if I just go all in for a little while, if I push my marriage and family to the back burner in order to really focus on building this up, in a few years, things will be really good. And then I can step back and have more time with
Yeah,
family and everything else. And that is so hard. It's so detrimental to your family. And I hate that I have got multiple stories of people who have tried to pull that off with horrible success, no success whatsoever. I had a friend in the he's in the law profession of helping people. He blesses people by knowing the law and just helping kind of your lower end folks that struggle with being filed suit on and going to court. Anyway, long story short, he told me one time. He said, "I need some advice," and I said, "What you got going on?" He said, "I have done really well in my law practice in the business that I've got. I'm doing really well right now, but it's not what I'd like it to be." He said, "I have a chance to buy a second firm. And if I
mm,
buy the second firm and get it going, in a few years, I could really, really step back and take it easy and everything's good from then on." And I said, so what's your issue?" And he said, "Right now, I am barely getting to see my family as it
oh,
is."
yeah,
And he said, "What's going to be bad is I'm going to see them less. And my wife
yeah,
is already not happy with the fact that I'm very rarely seeing them now. And I've got a 6-year-old boy." But he said, "How do I make them understand if they can just go without me a little longer, things will be okay?" And I said, "Look," and I remember trying to look him in the eye and calling him by name. I said, "Look, here, my advice is you could buy 10 more law firms and be extremely successful. But
sure,
if you lose your wife and your kid, you have been unsuccessful. There is nothing about you that is successful if you put these businesses before your relationships and you wind up losing it.
yeah,
You will never be successful in the things that matter."
yeah,
There is nobody on their deathbed that ever kicks back and goes, "I wish I'd have spent more time at the office." In the end, the only thing that will matter is your relationship with God and your relationship with your spouse and your kids. And
yeah,
so I want to go out with my relationship being good in all of those areas, whether I've been successful in ministry or anything else. Those things don't matter.
yeah.
What matters is what did my relationships look like? Because that's in the end, that's what people will remember you about.
Yeah. So I know there's got to be blind spots that you've seen through the years that business owners or people that are focused on their career. What are some blind spots that you've seen that people just don't? It just sneaks up on them. Blind spots that ruins their relationships with their kids or their family or their marriage, whatever it might be, because they have spent too much time at work or that kind of thing. What are some of those
Well,
things that kind of sticks out to you?
there's several little things. One is promises that keep getting broken. "I'll be there for
Oh,
the on Saturday,"
yeah,
or "I promise I'm not working next weekend." And it gets to the point that your spouse doesn't trust you because you've told them enough times that, "Hey, I'll be there," and you're not. And when you begin to lose that trust, it's so hard on your marriage and on and your kids. Man, your
yep,
kids know when you're blowing smoke,
yeah, they do.
And it's so important that you, when you say you're going to be there, you show up. And then when you're there, be present. Don't be the guy that's on the phone or trying to talk business. Be present wherever it is. If you're home for the weekend and you promised, hey, this is a weekend, we're going to have some fun, whatever it is. One of the blind spots is just trying to, man, you just really have a hard time turning it off. And I
Yeah,
even do that sometimes. I found myself more recently trying really hard just to walk away from that phone, knowing if there's an emergency, somebody will find me somewhere. It's going to be all right.
sure.
It's just so healthy to be able to do that. The other thing is that nobody does it on purpose, but I mentioned it a while ago. They push their family or their marriage to that back burner of the stove, and they'll go, "I'll get back to this." But right now, and you start your time, your money, everything else starts focusing on everything. There should always be time and money for your marriage. There should always be date nights. There needs, man. I want when I'm 80 years old to my wife and I to look across the table at each other if God gives us that long and go, we did it.
Yeah.
We built a marriage that honors God and has blessed us. And what we're finding out now is that we worked really hard to build a great marriage and we feel like we have one. But what we didn't realize was how much is blessing our kids and our grandkids.
Yeah.
Never did I imagine. We have our boys tell us all the time. I have 4 boys. They tell us all the time, they make comments about, now that I'm married, Dad, I had no clue how important it was that we saw you take mom on dates, or that y'all got away for a weekend. Or I had one tell me the other day, I actually commented on the fact that he opened the door for his wife. And I said, well done opening the car door for your wife. And he said, Dad, I learned it from you. And I thought, yes, because there's plenty of bad things they can learn from me.
Yeah.
But, when my kids learn, and even my grandkids, who God has put me back in our grandkids' lives, and our 5-year-old granddaughter the other day, we want her to see that her grandparents love each other. We
Yeah.
someday her talk about, man, my grandparents, I want a marriage like theirs. Not a, I don't care if she goes, I want a marriage ministry like theirs, or I want to work in ministry like that. I want a marriage, or I want a relationship with God like they had. And so we've really tried hard for them to talk about God, to hold hands. We're affectionate around the kids. She told her, my 5-year-old granddaughter told her mama the other day, she said, Pops and Lily, that's what she calls us, says Pops and Lily, they really love each other. She said, I've seen them. They love each other. She said, they may be getting married soon. That was her. Yeah, that was her words. I don't know what that means in the world of a 5-year-old, but
I love it.
Something right. Build the marriage and the relationships where your kids go, gross, get a room, and not, please stop fighting. That's the kind of marriage you want, to where your kids realize my mom and dad love each other.
Yeah. Well, we know that from all the years of ministry work and things that we've even done, it's fascinating to watch. Man, marriages can break down really fast if there's not those core principles and core things in place. And we started at a children's home one time, and we were there for probably about 3 weeks. And one of the kids came up to us one day, and he goes, "You guys are for real, aren't you?" And we were like, "What are you talking about?" And he goes, "Y'all weren't." He said, "Normally the parents come in." He said, "First week or so, it's honeymoon period with us, and they look like they really love each other, and they look like they care about us and all this stuff." And he said, and then it all starts to go away, and we start to see the fighting or the whatever, or this or that. And he said, "Y'all aren't like that." And I was like, "No, and we're not going to be." Like, that's not us. That's not our marriage. That's not who we are. And I didn't even notice it. Like, they noticed it because it was such out of character for what they were around. But it's kind of cool whenever you get to see from the outside point of view, somebody looking in and seeing that, because the truth is they're going to follow your actions, not what you say. Yeah, so
exactly right.
They're watching every step that you take, everything that you do, when you do open the door, when you do hold their hand, when you do walk with them, whatever it may be, they're watching every step of that.
Yeah.
So what are some practical things that you guys have found? I know you mentioned date nights. I think that's Wonderful. What are some other practical things that you guys teach inside your marriage workshop that you're like, look, these are some core principles that need to happen no matter what?
Yeah. Well, a few are whatever you did before marriage to win your spouse should be the
Yeah.
things you're doing today. Don't be the guy who does the bait and switch that comes along and really
Yeah.
woos her or she woos him and then turns around and 2 years later is like, I'm not buying flowers anymore. We're married now, you know. Don't be that guy. Don't be that girl who says, I'm not flirting with him anymore. Why do I need to do that now that we're married? If you did things to win him in the beginning, continue to do those things. Those are all healthy things, and
Yeah.
your still wants to be pursued, however that is, whether it's with flowers or sweet text messages or kind words. Be that person that still does that. So that's one of the big things that we really push is don't, nobody wants I don't want a marriage where we're just roommates.
Yeah.
I do not want a marriage where we're paying bills, sharing a house, raising kids together. I want a marriage where there's a connection, and that requires pursuit.
Yes.
Requires more than just living in a house together. That requires that we touch and that we date and that we flirt and that we spend time together. And that besides dating, you ought to be going periodically overnight somewhere, try to find some time to go somewhere overnight or on a trip. You fell in love because you spent time together and you still need to do that. And that is one of the big kickers in there that's so important that you got to continue to do. Another one that we do that we talk about is boundaries. We have boundaries in our marriage that are very healthy. Now, the world sees our boundaries sometimes and they kind of go, y'all are a little ridiculous. But our boundaries have worked for 37 years of marriage without any hiccup of unfaithfulness.
Yeah.
And so stick with what we're doing. And so some of our boundaries are things like we don't spend time alone with someone of the opposite sex that's not our spouse.
Yep.
My friends of the opposite sex are also Lee's friends, and vice versa. She's the same way. We don't have long text messages with people of the opposite sex unless it's just passing on information. Does that make sense? I don't reach out to people of the opposite sex that I'm not married to and go, hey, how's it going in your world? Let's just talk and be friends here in this text message. If I need to do that, I'm going to add my wife to that group text. And so
we do the same thing.
That's it. Some people think this is really ridiculous, but hey, again, it's worked for 37 years of marriage. We're very cautious. And we even sat down periodically and we have kind of marriage reviews of how are we doing? Where are we? Is there an area on social media, in our DMs, our private messages, where we're kind of letting Satan get a crack in there, or maybe is there some place in there? And we kind of go through and have this little session of, can we see any area where Satan might be trying to get us? Because, man, he would love nothing more than to wipe y'all out, us out. Man, talk about wiping out some ministry. If he could take us down, and he will do anything he could. And I had a friend not long ago sit me down and said, hey, my marriage is ending. And I was blown away. This is a ministry. And it all started from a wife texting someone at church. And they had become really good friends. And he kind of said, I'm uncomfortable with this. And she said, you're making a big deal out of this. Well, 2 months later, she asked him to move out. It turned into way more than a friendship. And
we've seen the same thing happen through the years over and over again.
And it breaks my heart. And literally 3 months later, she files for divorce and she's now married. And this was literally a fantastic marriage that Satan found a crack. And he started working his way in, and it started very slowly and very innocently. And so, man, you got to pay attention. And that's what boundaries in marriage are healthy. My wife and I we share the same passcode on our phones.
I was about to say, my wife, my kid, they can get into anything. Like Lexa can get into anything, anytime, which also protects me because
it does.
It holds me accountable because I know they can get in anytime and look at anything, anywhere.
That's exactly
I'm fine with that. I don't care.
My wife is the worst about leaving her phone somewhere, and she'll go, we get to the gym sometimes and she'll go, "Oh, I totally forgot how to do this one exercise." And I go, "Grab my phone and use it." I don't care.
Yeah.
She knows the passcode. She can
Yeah.
look at anything she wants to. I'm not hiding a thing.
That's
Yeah.
me.
There are people in this world and I see them all the time and they'll go, "Hey, my cell phone is my private place.
Yeah.
My house should not have my passcode. I should be able to have some private." And all I can say is red flags.
Yeah.
You know, maybe it's the most innocent thing in the world, but nothing says red flags like, "Hey, I've locked my spouse out of my cell phone and they're not allowed to look at it." So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. They,
boundaries have got to be one of those things that you protect
yeah.
anything you love.
Yeah. Any social media, like we work the same way and it freaks people out sometimes because Lexa or Michelle, either one, they'll pick up my phone and just start using it. And people are like, wait, they can get it. I'm like, yeah, like I don't have anything to hide, man. Like this
Yeah,
is,
that's the way to do it.
yeah. And
We
they can get
share
into
all our
anything on my
passwords,
phone. I don't care what it is.
all our passwords on our phone. We have a note that we keep locked, and anytime I update my password on Instagram, on whatever it is, it automatically shows up on her phone. We share everything. So if anytime she wants to get on my stuff, I don't care because
Yeah.
I'm not doing anything. It's accountability, and it's very healthy to have.
100%. 100%. Yeah. We've seen that too often. And especially in the world that I've been in with children's homework and all that, we were super careful about everything. Cause it just, there's just too many things that can go wrong in those types of environments. So we've always had those boundaries, and good healthy boundaries like that for sure.
I don't feel
I
that
know
it's unhealthy at all. To
what's that?
me, I said there's some people that call that unhealthy,
Oh,
but
I
I don't
know.
like that's unhealthy at all. I think those are
Yeah.
great bound. The last thing I want somebody to ruin is my marriage, and I will do
Yeah.
everything I can to protect it.
Yeah. I think that's the crazy part to me as I look around and especially in the entrepreneurial world, I meet a lot of people that everything looks successful on the outside, and then you get behind the curtain and it's bad, man. Like marriage is broken, they're miserable.
Yeah.
They don't talk to their kids like we talked about. Like it's they just have not won at life. Sure, they got some money, sure they got a business and it looks good to the world, but man, behind the curtain is not pretty at all. And
And
it
at the end
surprises
of
me
your,
sometimes when I
at
find
the,
out who they like what's really going on.
that's right. And the end of your life, the only thing that's going to matter is not what car you got parked in the garage or how much
Yeah.
money you got in the bank account. It's those relationships.
Yeah.
There's nothing more valuable than your relationship with your spouse and kids.
Yeah, I have to remind myself sometimes because I do lend to and I've always been this way since I was, I don't know, however old. And maybe it's because I grew up in a small business with my family. I don't know. Maybe that's just what I was taught. Maybe because I grew up, dad bought the business when I was 7. But I can work. Like I love to work. I don't mind working. And I can get pretty focused, hyper focused on what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. And I have to pull back the reins. And there's been times even when we were doing ministry or with the business, there are times, and I've always asked Michelle to be real with me about, okay, look, if I start straying too far this direction or this, just say something. Please say something. So, and she
And that
will.
is that is wise. That is so smart because there are a lot of people that are scared to do that. And one of the
Yeah,
best things you can do, and I do it regularly, is I ask my wife, "Hey, am I overdoing it at work? Am I bringing work home?" And
yeah,
and I want her to shoot straight with me. And there's been times where she said, "You had a day off last Friday and you spent half your day on the phone doing work." And she said, "That's supposed to be our day." And I said, "Thank you for calling me on that. And so I do know that there are sometimes things come up, you have to take
sure.
care of business, but none of it was not anything that couldn't wait. And
Yeah.
so, I want her to be real with me and say, "Yeah, hey, you're doing good," or you really could use to be a little bit better on such and such.
Yeah, I know. We were kind of talking about this before we got on today. So you guys, you have your ministry, you have all of that you do, but you really are entrepreneurs. You guys have really built a business out of the workshops, the books, and all. How have you guys balanced all of that at one time? Because I know just from ministry work, and ministry is an interesting career. If you've done it, you understand it. If you haven't, it's really hard to understand what it's like to be on staff and the responsibilities and the pressures that come along with that. How have you guys balanced doing kind of the tent making and the ministry?
Well, it has been tough. There have been a lot of trial and error, and there have been times where we haven't done it very well. But ministry, as you know, can take as much time as you will let it.
That's right.
You can do as much ministry as you want. It is a different animal in a sense. There's no off the clock. You
Nope.
don't go home at 5. I may get 15 text messages from 5 to 9 from church people asking questions or needing this or needing that. And so there's no off the clock. So you have to find time to have some downtime. But in my world of both entrepreneur and ministry, of doing both of those, I try to make sure that my ministry never suffers in order for me to do the other. And I have found that when I keep that balance, I don't want my marriage to suffer. I want to keep my real full-time job, which is ministry as a lead minister who preaches on Sunday. And I keep that I will find some time in there to work on the other. And sometimes that is a day off, or sometimes I'm an early morning guy. And sometimes I'll get up and spend 3 hours before my wife gets out of bed working on, podcast material or this or that or something else. And so sometimes it takes some balance, but there have been times where we've struggled in a sense of, we've let our podcast go a couple of 3 weeks too long without updating it and things like that. But if that means, hey, we were on a family vacation and we didn't get it done, we'll prioritize the family vacation over the podcast episode. And so while we want to be successful in both ministry and in our marriage ministry, we want to keep our priorities right in there, of what is really first priority. But it does take some balancing and doing things. And we do a lot of travel. We have learned the art of flying, getting in and out of places, how to rent cars.
Until you get stuck in Houston, right?
Yeah. Other than sometimes a bad weather ice storm comes through and gets us stuck. But even there, we were savvy enough because we've done it so much that we knew how to find a car, how to find a hotel, how to find a cheap place to stay. We moved every night while we were stuck, because every night on the second night they would try to double the price because they knew we would have to stay
they
there.
Could.
And we go, no, we're going down the street where it's $100 cheaper.
Yeah.
So you learn the tricks of the trade in there of how to best make that work. But it does take a little bit of balancing and juggling sometimes. But you just got to remember, I've got to keep my priorities straight in what matters most.
Yeah. What are the biggest stressors that you guys are seeing right now in marriages? I know it's probably been fairly consistent through the years, but I also know that we live in very odd times right now with all the uncertainties and everything else that's going on.
Some of the biggest stressors that we find on marriages today are some new ones. Now, this isn't always the case. Your cell phones.
Sure.
You can do good things with cell phones, but cell phones can cause a lot of stress on your marriage. We hear people that go, my husband or my wife, they come home from work and they just sit on their cell phone the rest of the evening. So cell phones are one of those things. Social media is one of those things that can eat into your relationship. We've become a very busy people. One of the things that's hurting families today is we have got away from the dinner table. A lot of families, I talk to a family that say, we don't even have a dinner table. We just eat in front of the TV every night.
Yeah.
Well, I remember our kids grew up, and my wife and I grew up in a home where every night we sat at a dinner table, at least 5 nights a week, that we don't start until everybody's here. You don't bring your phone to the table. And it was some of the best laughter, conversation. Sure. It's just some of the best memories we have around the table. And so many families these days are, they're taking food, filling their plates, or we're going to grab to go and we'll sit in front of the TV and we'll watch TV, and they're losing the conversation. The average couple today, married couple today, talks to each other face to face 4 minutes a day, and you can't do marriage.
Oh, wow.
That's crazy. Yeah.
I had never heard that statistic. Yeah, that's wild.
4 minutes a day, the average couple gets. And so you can't, if you'll just sit down and eat supper together, you're going to get way more than that.
Yeah.
And so it is it is finding some time every day to spend with your spouse. My wife and I, we don't always eat. We're empty nesters now. And so we probably eat 50% of the time at a table. 50% of the time we'll take our food and go sit down and watch the Texas Rangers play baseball. But we find other time. We have coffee together
Sure.
every afternoon, late afternoon. We'll have our good 30 minutes coffee time and just checking in. We go to bed together every night. That is one of the things we started doing about 10, 15 years ago that's blessed us. We talk, we can pray together. It's just our time, about 30 minutes in there to just visit. You got a chance to be intimate. There's just so many good things that can take place
Yeah.
in there. And so we get our time in there. And a lot of couples these days, you can't do marriage on 4 minutes a day. And that's really hard on
No,
us.
that's wild. I've never heard that statistic.
Yeah.
That is
It is
craziness
a
to me.
hard stat. And that is a tough thing.
Yeah, I
You know,
can't imagine trying to build a relationship off of that.
between things like, I mean, if you got kids in your home, you got little league and soccer, and you got gymnastics, and you got PTA, and you'll have something every night of the week.
Yeah.
And before you know it, Dad, I'll go to the soccer game and you go to the basketball game. And at some point you have to sit down occasionally and go, all right, our life does not center around our children or even our schedule. Maybe we need to tell them we're not doing 4 things each. Pick one or pick
Yeah.
2.
Yeah.
And so you just got to have some family time in there, and you've got to have some husband and wife time in there.
Yeah, I totally get that. It's been interesting through our lives because part of our lives we lived with kids because we were in children's homes. So we had 6, 7, 8 kids that lived with us all the time. And then part of our lives we've been just Lexa, just one kiddo. And then, we went empty nesting for a long time. Then we traveled in an RV. That was a whole different world. And some people look at
there.
What's that?
That you got way more than 4 minutes a day stuck in an RV with your
Well, I was
spouse.
about to say, some people are always like, how do you guys like put up with each other? Because you're with each other all the time, every day, this and that. And we've never known any different. We started out doing youth ministry work and working in a family business. We saw each other all the time, most of our career. And then once we started the businesses, it's always been an open door, whether it's at an office or at the house or whatever. So Lex has never known any different with us. She's always felt like she had access to both of us whenever, however. And then our marriage has kind of always been that way. So we didn't even, when you're in a little 300-400 square foot RV traveling around, you get like you're on top of each other all the time, whether you're just trying to work or eat or sleep or whatever it is, play, whatever it is, you're just there, which was
And you
interesting.
hit on a key right there. I think one of the things that will make you successful in business, in ministry, is getting your spouse and even your kids involved.
Oh yeah.
If you can make this a team versus I do this, you do whatever you do, and this is my thing over here. If you can get your spouse involved and even your kids involved, man, it will bless you as a family. It'll bless you. If my wife today said, "Hey, I'm out of the marriage ministry business. I'm done," I would be going, "Okay, me too.
Me too.
Let's find something else," because I'm not doing it without her. I'm not going to be gone that much without her. It's just not as fun without her as it is with her. And so when you can build a marriage where you'd rather hang out with your spouse and do business with your spouse and work with your spouse than you would have a break from your spouse, you're doing something right.
Yeah, we ended up at a church camp one summer. Mowing is what they needed us to do. This was during COVID. They didn't have any staff. 2,500 acre camp. And they were like, "Hey, do you guys mind mowing?" We're like, "We don't care. I mean, we're here just to serve whatever you guys want us to do." And so Michelle would drive the 0 turnaround, and I'd be out there with the weed eater, the push mower, or whatever, and we would be mowing all day long together. And people are like, "Y'all really did that?" And I'm like, "Yeah. Why wouldn't we do that? Like we had a ball doing it, and we enjoyed the time together. And we'd sit out there and eat lunch outside in the middle of the beautiful mountains, and like it was just." It's interesting to me because we have lived a very, very, very different life. But you're right. Like some people, they don't get that. We've kind of spent our life that way. We even have an alignment exercise that we do inside of eForge where we talk about here's the goals that we have, and how do we build that into our family? How do we make sure that we build in trips and celebrations? And people don't celebrate anymore. How do we celebrate the wins that we have as a family? Not just in our business, but as a family. How do we celebrate those wins that, hey man, this is something that we were trying to accomplish and we achieved it as a family. Let's go do something fun. Let's go have a trip or eat out or do, I don't know, whatever it is that
That is
we would do as a family.
That is
Yeah.
excellent.
Families need to celebrate still.
That is exactly right.
So many of them don't.
Yep.
You talk to them and they haven't done anything together fun in forever.
My family celebrates around food. We are eaters. Man, we are eaters. It's like, if it's a birthday, if it's anything, it's like, where are we all going to go eat?
That's right.
And we're loud and it's noisy and we can eat.
I love it. So if somebody wanted to find out more about you guys, I know y'all all are all over social media. So where would they do? Is it Stronger Marriage Workshops? Is that the best place for them to find you? That will get you
there. TreyandLea.com.
TreyandLea.com.
Name Lea. TreyandLea.com. You could Google Trey and Lee, and I guarantee you it will pull everything up for you. I looked
up a minute ago, and you guys popped up number one when I started looking for anything with your names. So
awesome. Yeah. You can find our podcast there, free podcast. It's got tons of marriage topics. We try to cover everything so that when somebody calls or messages us with a question, we got a podcast for that. We've got our books listed there, where we're going to be coming up for marriage workshops. We have about 9 more this year. And like I said, we're booked up about 3.5, 4 years out right now. And so we'd love to have somebody join us for a marriage workshop. And it's a lot of fun. Follow us on social media. We try to put some just good, healthy marriage material out at least once a day.
Yeah, I love the posts because you guys will put stuff out that it makes me stop and have to think about it. Okay. Yeah. Okay, Cory, let's do a checkup for the neck up. Like, is this something that I'm doing right now in my marriage, or even just me personally? Am I taking care of things that I need to be taken care of? And like you were saying earlier, it's a lot of this is we just got to be intentional. We stop being intentional and we stop doing the things that we know we need to do, and we're not dating each other. It was kind of funny. You spoke at the when you guys split the guys and the girls up in the well not too long ago. We were walking over to the other building, and some of the college kids turn to me and they go, why are you here? Are you still, like, who are you dating? And I'm going, I'm still dating my wife. What are you talking about? Like, so they were kind of like, what are you doing? And I'm going, well, I'm still dating my wife, man. Anyway, it's fun because they get to see, and I think the kids, like at the well, those college kids need to see you guys having a marriage, and Jeremy and Jenny and all of us couples having strong marriages. They need to see that. It's not normal anymore we've just celebrated 30 years. You guys are at 37 or whatever. It's just not normal in our society.
It can be done, and it can still be done today, but it takes being intentional, just like you said.
Yeah, I think that's you got to be intentional. Trey, thank you so much for bringing this perspective that a lot of leaders avoid but desperately need. This wasn't just about a marriage. This is about alignment. The way we lead at home is the same way we lead everywhere else. And to our listeners, here's the takeaway I want you to sit with. You can't build a strong business on a weak foundation at home. If you want to grow your business, grow your leadership. If you want to grow your leadership, invest in your relationships. Today's episode challenged you or gave you something to think about. Do these 3 things. Subscribe to the show. Hit that subscribe button. Leave a review. Share this episode with another leader who needs to hear this, who maybe needs to have some time and be intentional about their marriage. Till next Thursday, keep forging forward, stay aligned with your calling, and build with clarity, confidence, and conviction, because this is the forge where leaders are made and legacies are built.